Here's a loose ball. It's a fumble.
Ball is loose. As there's a fight for it still. And he lunges the ball to 13-yard line.
Mark Sanchez not expecting it, and it was the backside of Brandon Moore that knocked the ball out.
Welcome to the Don't Fumble podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andreas Groves, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Henry Mak and Alex Pang. We're covering week 3 recap of the NFL season, and it was a pretty good weekend where there was a lot of great games. And Henry, what did you think of the games?
3-0, 3-0.
Oh yeah, your Packers.
That's what we are.
Packers. Alex,
Brilliant.
what do you think? Your Packers?
Great weekend. I've had a great weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys.
We anticipated a good weekend, and it didn't disappoint.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, from a neutral's point of view, it was good. Really good. From a Packers point of view, it was good. Yeah. From a Patriots point of view, it was good. And from a Jets point of view, let's not talk about it. That's all I'll say. We don't need to talk about it. No one wants to hear about the Jets. It's just a joke. Until Gase goes, they're not relevant, and maybe not even then. But let's see. We'll let that happen as it's going to happen. But on today's show, we're going to be talking obviously about the recap or the best games with our segment 3 and Out. We'll also be touching on a few other segments with our segment Taking It to Overtime. Looking forward to some games that are coming in week 4. But first of all, we're going to have a bit of news. Okay, so the news coming out, the big news coming out of this week was the Tristan Hill, Chris Carson incident happened in the Seattle Seahawks and Dallas Cowboys game. It was in the second half, wasn't it? That happened.
Yeah.
Chris Carson was clearly on the ground after being tackled to the ground. Defensive tackle for the Cowboys, Tristan Hill, kind of rolls up on him, grabs his ankle, and does a gator roll, twisting his knee. And Chris Carson's got kind of a knee sprain. It was a terrible look, and it's just
such a dirty player.
It was so unnecessary, and it was like there was no need for it. It was obvious it was not in part of the game. It was just a dirty hit, and like I said, it's something that he's gonna have to deal with other people coming.
He's one of those players, though. He's like what's his name, Vontaze Burfict. He's just those. They just play. You're just gonna have one of those bad eggs in the league that just do things. I mean,
does he have a reputation for it? Have you?
I don't think so. But what?
Well, this is how it starts, isn't it? This is how it starts. Yeah. It is how it starts, and
because right after that, like a few days later, he's getting flagged for the helmet to helmet.
Yeah, I mean this is how it starts. I don't know if he's got a reputation for it, but let's hope it's just like he had an off day, and he's obviously going to get fined for it.
He's not getting banned.
No, so he's not going to get
getting banned.
No,
for
personally, I think he should be banned for however long Carson's out for.
Yeah, so as long as for as long as Carson's out, he should be banned.
If it's like a play that he got injured because of something that's accidental, fair enough. But that he wanted to hurt him.
Yeah, it's just a terrible move, and when you see it, you kind of hope, the guy's not ill, but then you not got injured, but then you find out that he got pulled up an injury, and thankfully it wasn't too bad, but just not a great look, and like I said, it's he should have got more than than the fine, but that's what it is, and that's what the league. They want to give him like a slap on the wrist kind of thing right now, I guess, because he hasn't got the reputation, right? It's kind of a first thing, but
yeah.
Anyway, I mean, we're looking at other news. You got a couple of injuries, unfortunately. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad, but there was a few injuries coming through this week. We had Tariq Cohen ACL injury, Jarrell Casey. Yeah, Jarrell Casey got an elbow injury. He's out for the season. But other than that, there was a few like knocks and niggles and pull strains, and I know there was like Chris Godwin got quite a bad hamstring injury, looks like. So there's going to be people knocked there, but nothing too serious, thankfully. And in transaction news, it looks like Earl Thomas he's visiting the Texans, and it looks like that's pretty much locked into to happen. So yeah, Earl Thomas on the Texans. What do you think of that, Alex?
They need it. They need it because their defense has struggled.
Yeah.
Throughout the past 3 games. I mean, yeah, they have played good teams, but they really need help in the secondary. So they needed that
I don't get why Cowboys not involved in this. Surely they're the one that is bigger need.
I think it's almost
Yeah.
a reputation thing. Like they've seen like they've been linked with him for so long, and because of the issues he's been having the last say year or two, it's kind of they don't want to like, oh yeah, we're going to take on this guy because he wants to come. I don't know. It's just one of the things, and the Texans have come in and swooped him up, but he can still play, right? We saw that. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's as good as he was at Seattle, but he's still a useful player who's going to do some things to help the Texans.
He'll
'cause-
upgrade that. He'll upgrade that secondary.
Absolutely, they need
sure.
they need the help, and obviously now they're trying to get off that 0-3 start, so they could use the help. Absolutely, so any help needs, because they're not putting up the points, with Deshaun Watson. He had a really good effort this weekend, but the defense needs to do its part, and that's going to help out. Okay, so just after we went off, we finished the recording of the show, a bit of breaking news happened, so we're going to put it into the news segment here. There's been some COVID positive tests in the NFL, in the Titans organization. So this came out from Tom Pelissero just after we started recording. I'll read the statement here. On Tuesday morning, the Titans COVID testing result returned 3 new players positives and 5 new personnel positives. The Titans will suspend in-person club activities starting today. Likewise, the Vikings, who play the Titans on Sunday, will also suspend in-person club activities. Both clubs are working closely with the NFL and the NFLPA, including our infectious disease experts, to evaluate close contacts, perform additional testing, and monitor developments. All decisions will be made with health and safety as our primary consideration. We will continue to share updates as more information becomes available. So this is the story of, obviously, with them now coming out after the game being played, they tested positive. This is the one that you worried in terms of this one can spread between the two teams, and they've got to get this out and how it can knock on to you worry about it from a COVID point of view, and obviously from knocking on to next week's games as well.
This week's game, isn't it? So
this week's coming.
Titans and Steelers.
Steelers, and the Vikings
Texans
versus the Texans.
Yeah.
Is interesting to see what's going to happen with those games. But it's the first test, and we kind of knew it was coming. But the fact that it's been pretty well managed up to this point, the fact that it's come out is still a surprise when it does finally come out. So it's something we're going to have to see what happens. Really,
It's a big test for the NFL's COVID protocols, because this can actually affect the whole season. What happens now could affect the whole season. Because we don't know what will happen if the game goes ahead, if the Titans and Steelers game goes ahead, and then the Steelers end up catching it. I mean, this can have ripple effects across the NFL.
They're going to be, like I said, they're going to be very cautious with that, and they've said that they will move things. They're happy to move even the playoff Super Bowl. It can move back if they have to reschedule things.
Do you think they'll postpone the Steelers game?
Well, the thing is, they're saying that we saw. This is obviously a lot of this is kind of coming to us really fresh, so we have to see how it goes. But from what we've been seeing, that it looks like the Titans aren't going to get in for the next couple of days at the very least.
Not until Saturday.
Yeah, and so with that being the same, like how can they prepare for a game against the Steelers who aren't facing this situation? So
and they're both hosting the game there.
What's that?
They're both hosting the game as well.
And they're both hosting the games, of course. So wow, yeah. So that is going to be interesting to see how that manages. It's just it's a big story going forward, really.
What are the protocols that the NFL has set in place for something like this were to happen?
They have said that games can be kind of moved around to kind of give teams time to prepare. Obviously, they got to, let's see, we've had some big, we had the big outbreak in the New York, New Jersey area, which also kind of had like Josh Allen tested positive when it was actually a false positive. So first of all is making sure this is actually a legitimate.
So far Tom Pelissero, he just tweeted out and he just said, so far the protocol is that the Tennessee's facility will be shut down for several days, but there's no other decisions made yet. So they haven't even thought this properly through yet.
Yeah, I know it's going to be. We'll see. This is just breaking throughout the rest of the day. We're going to be seeing how this goes. And obviously, next week's show, we'll be looking back on how it was managed. And we may not even have had these games played by the time we do next week's recap. But they're going to have to take it super seriously in terms of not, because if you go from one team and then that place team and then it all starts to web together and then the whole league's done. So they have to really, like, having a couple of games out of order and kind of rescheduled, especially where there's no fans to worry about in terms of tickets and all that stuff. I think they need to just make sure
to manage. But...
Yeah, they'll be able to manage this, and I think they're just going to have to push those games back a bit to give the teams time to sort themselves out and get ready for the games, so that it's kind of is a fair contest. But yeah, definitely interesting to see what happens, and obviously. Yeah, and we talked later. You'll see later in the show that we obviously we look forward to the Steelers Titans as one of our games we look forward to. So that is obviously in context to what we're talking about here. You got to factor that in, that this came in after the show. But yeah, it's something to look for, it's something to see. And obviously now we're going to kick it off to 3 and Out. Okay, so for our segment 3 and Out, this week we're going to cover the surprise teams that we've picked, the disappointing teams, and our teams of the week. Alex, do you want to go first with your first surprise team?
Sure. I'm going to kick off with a team that I don't think you guys are surprised by. I'm sort of surprised by, and that's the Bills, because I thought this was their litmus test, because playing the Jets and the Dolphins, it was like, okay, you're meant to beat them. Let's see how you do against a really good team that's coming to play. And the Buffalo Bills, they showed some balls on Sunday, and that's what you want to see from them, I guess, if you're any sort of neutral fan, unless like you're me and Andres, who are they're like in their divisional rivals. But I mean, they got off to a really good start. Like, I think Josh Allen's I'm slowly getting to the point where I'm like, okay, he's bona fide QB1. Let's go with him. But I mean, they got off to 21-3 lead in the first half.
Yeah,
you can't ask for more than that from if you're the Buffalo Bills. And then they came out second half, went straight, scored a touchdown to Stephon Diggs. Lovely stuff. And then what I would say is, what was worrying was how they let the Rams back into the game.
Yeah,
but isn't that every week now?
That is, the defense is not as good as it was, say, last year. Right now, as it stands, and they've allowed, even with the Jets, they didn't put the Jets away. Even the Jets weren't doing much; they didn't put them away. So like they're still.
Miami didn't get
and Miami they almost they're not as lethal. And luckily we got the Rams came back into it, as you were saying, Alex, and you got to talk about
and that play. You got to talk about
that. Yeah,
the
Rams obviously are winning the game, going into the last drive. The Bills are driving, and they're on fourth down. About 21 odd yards out. Josh Allen floats it up there, and there's a call for PI on the Rams DB, and you look at it, and it's a very, very soft call. And if the game, if that stays with no flag, the game's over. The Rams will win it, and the referee calls it and gives them a new set of downs.
3 set of downs, yeah.
And that's it. They score the touchdown and they win the game. And it's kind of, you got to find a balance from last year's PI calls, of the challenging of that. They obviously got rid of it for this year. And
there's a bit of luck into them, though. That they're now 3-0. They are a good side. I think I've always thought they were a decent team, but
they still got more tests down the line.
Well, yeah, true, but then that call that call was a huge difference for that game. That was the winning drive for them because of that call.
I mean, even if they lost that game, I think everyone was still in agree. I think everyone finally saw like the Buffalo Bills are here and they're serious about this season.
I don't know. I think if they lost that game, that'll be more of a disappointment. Letting that
it would have been a disappointment how they capitulated at the end to let the Rams get the lead from 28 to 3. But what you saw from Josh Allen, if you're a Bills fan, you're pretty much hyped for this season, I think.
I mean, they already were before even you did a snap, and they're super excited. The Bills are it looks to me now that the Bills are they're an offensive team. Like under McDermott, they've always had their defense has been the part of the team that kind of improved first and was kind of carried the team to their victories in the first few years of McDermott's reign of the team. But they've now, like with the way they put up the points, they're a really powerful team going forward. Like going against any defense. I think I fancied them against most defenses. And they're not really. They're going to have a few tests down the road, but really, I think they could probably put up the points on anybody. And it's really about the defense getting back to being one of the top 10, top 5 defenses, and put a clamp on the team. I think that the Bills are potentially a really good shout to beat. They could beat anybody, and if they could beat anybody, and when I mean anybody, I mean I do think later on they're going to be going up against the Chiefs. That's going to be a really great game. Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. That's going to be that's the real test. Is like, can you beat the best of the best? For example, Houston. We know Deshaun Watson's great and he can lead a team, but against those top teams, they haven't come up, haven't been able to beat those teams. Now, the Bills haven't had all those tests yet, and we'll see what happens when they go through some of those harder games. But right now, the Bills look really good, and I don't like to say it as a Jets fan, but yeah, the Bills have done an amazing job with Josh Allen, and he looks like definitely the second best quarterback in that draft class after Lamar. And I didn't think that's sheerly down to. I think that's sheerly down to coaching. That's down to getting all the mechanical stuff out of his game, getting him to read the game properly, letting the game slow down for him, training, like just an incredible job getting the main guy in your team.
It's how you want your quarterback to ideally, that's how you'd want your quarterback to develop over the years, right? It's a blueprint.
It's an absolute blueprint on how to develop a quarterback who has a lot of potential but isn't perfect coming up. He's not kind of the kind of Andrew Luck or the Peyton Manning or that kind of quarterback coming out of college, but someone has a lot of potential.
And to give him weapons.
What's that?
And to give him weapons.
Well, exactly. You coach, you give him weapons that suit his ability. You say, okay, what's one of his weaknesses? Well, he hasn't got the biggest, accuracy on deep balls. Well, give him one of the best deep ball receivers, like to pair him with that. So that kind of helps him with that transition to try and improving. But the guy looks great, and the team overall, it looks really, really, really good overall. And I think with that defense, I do trust that defense, and I do trust McDermott to get that defense rolling.
I still stand by that they'll win that division.
Oh yeah,
I think Alex will say otherwise, but yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think the Pats could beat them. Like unless they play badly, but if they play well, I don't see the Pats beating them because I don't see the Pats being. The Pats can stop them so much, but I don't think they'll be able to stop them enough where. I just think it's going to be a great game, but I just think that they'll have too much for them, and I think the defense will come along with that. They'll be able to shut down what the Pats do with Cam and the kind of. He's done a great job, but I don't think there's receivers.
It's not even about
let's move on. Let's move on until that comes along.
It's about the whole over the 16 games.
Let's move it on until for my team of the week. Yeah, let's not go into the Pats situation right now.
Your surprise team, yeah.
My surprise team of the week is the Titans. From what I predict them to start well. I didn't expect them to go 3-0, but they have, and they've been winning close games. I think off the 3 wins so far, they've won a total margin of 6 points. That is really tight. That's like the slimmest margins right now, and any of the undefeated teams, and it shows that they've got they've just been working. They got winning mentality. They came up short last year in the championship game, but I think I've been saying they would get back there this year. That offense is great. Who would have thought that they will have a 300-yard passer and a 100-yard rusher? We know that Derrick Henry will be there as a 100-yard rusher. They also got a 100-yard receiver against Minnesota, and then they scored in 5 straight drive in the second half. Okay, that
the Titans are real. The Titans are for real. The Titans are for real,
and that's without AJ Brown as well. They're going to have AJ Brown coming back next week or the week after. So when you think Corey Davis is doing really well, AJ Brown, Derrick Henry's doing what he does. I just think what Tannehill is doing. I'm really impressed with Arthur Smith, the OC, for what he's done with Tannehill and the offense, and kind of getting the most out of Tannehill. It's kind of, again, good coaching, getting the most out of the player that you have. It's just really impressive.
Ryan Tannehill's just playing really clean, ain't he?
Yeah, and but it's the scheming, the opportunities for. It's not. It's like he's not. A lot of it is he's doing really well, no doubt, and they're working on him to kind of maximize his ability. But it is like the play calling is really good. There's a really good balance between running and passing. I'm really impressed with the offense. Really, they look like a really efficient. They're not explosive, obviously, but they're really efficient. I think the defense.
Their defense is a bit of a problem. No, I think that defense is a bit of a problem. I guess they gave up so much yards. They gave up so many yards to on the rushing for Dalvin Cook.
Yeah,
I think it was like over 160.
That's the thing.
I think they're better than they played against the Vikings, though.
Yeah, going down the stretch, their defense is a slight problem. I think going down the stretch.
Clowney hasn't turned up.
No, he needs to turn up, but I don't know.
But he was signed quite late. You've got to build that chemistry, so maybe we expect a bit more in 2-3 weeks' time, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, you got to think about the Vikings. The offense just suddenly appeared 3 weeks in.
Yeah, but that's because Justin Jefferson became the second guy that Kirk Cousins needed with
they got
Diggs
him on,
gone.
They started getting him on those deep crossing routes now, and that's really helped get them open.
They looked at what he was doing with Burrow last year at LSU and kind of, and really going for what he was good at. And yeah, he obviously is a first round pick for a reason. I thought he's an excellent receiver in this draft, and you wanted to see it because obviously with Diggs gone, you lost the experience head, so you wanted the rookie had to fill in his shoes, and it's only been 1 week, but you've seen he has the potential to do that, and definitely be that second receiver to go with the consistent Adam Thielen. So, and Dalvin Cook is I think the Vikings will win enough games to be in there. I think they've had a bad start, but the defense
to get to playoffs, really.
I think that if the offense, I don't know, you're saying the defense is so bad. I just still have think Zimmer is a good coach that they'll get the defense sorted out enough where they'll be able to win enough games down the stretch.
It'll be tight. I think it'll be
yeah.
tight for them to get into playoffs at the moment.
I did think they're putting themselves on the hole.
The NFC has too many good teams. I think like the playoff hunt will be very, very interesting.
Yeah. Let's just put it this way, right? For the playoffs, do you think they have a better chance now than the Bears?
Well, statistically they don't, but I just think
we'll have to see because
I think that they could probably. I think they could beat the Bears.
They're 3 games behind. They're 3 games behind, right?
Yeah, either with the Bears winning, of course. Thanks.
And then with Kirk Cousins in there, you're like you saw the final drive. That's how it will be when the time that matters, he will choke.
Yeah, no, you've been on.
I've been on him.
On the corner of Cousins choking.
It shows every time when he's in need to make a play, he doesn't get it done. He is a garbage time quarterback.
I know people.
He's a number 1 garbage time quarterback.
Yeah.
So
he does pop a lot of points when
weren't they leading though during the game?
They need him. Well, they need him.
They were leading. Yeah, they were. Yeah, and then obviously Gostkowski
they played quite well at the start.
They were in it and they kind of took a lead, but I just think they allowed the Titans to get back into it.
Yeah.
And I just think they're a team that I think they're in transition from where they were, and Mike Zimmer's kind of rebuilding it, and I just trust him.
Secondary is not good.
Yeah,
enough. It's a young secondary.
They're very young. They're very young, and that's the thing is that as the games go on, that can improve because they're young. You can see an improvement from kind of games 4, 5, 6, onwards, and if they can get some improvement from them, and then the offense keeps on putting up the points they do, I think they can beat up on enough teams. And like I said, that seventh, everyone talks about statistics about 0-3 teams, hardly make the playoffs now. But that's obviously the case with 6 teams making the playoffs. Now it's 7.
Now we got 7.
I think it opens up where a team could make a late charge and do it. So
that's why I'm saying. Like the playoff push is going to be very interesting for the NFC.
It's going to be a really good season for that.
There's so many good teams in there.
It makes weeks 15 and 17 are going to be awesome.
Yeah. You think because you got to think the NFC West has like they're all good teams in there.
4 teams.
They're all in the play. They'll all be in the playoff hunt. You got the Bucks and the Saints. They'll be in the hunt, and you got
anyone from the
NFC
East.
They're
any one of them can make it.
They're trash.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cowboys will be there, I think, but
Yeah,
and then
I
you've
think-
got the
I think
Bears.
maybe
The Bears are.
Cowboys.
I can't believe I'm saying it. The Bears have got a playoff push.
Well,
They're
if you
3-0.
you win 3
Yeah.
games, that's 3 games down, you know. And
But they can so easily be 3-3 and this time next in 3 weeks' time. So
I think with the I think it's going back to the Titans. I think the Titans and the Colts. We're talking about playoffs, and they're the teams I think are going to be challenging there with the Texans, and I think so. That's another interesting thing on the AFC side. But staying with
Let's move on.
staying with the AFC. My surprise team was Thursday night's winners, the Miami Dolphins, who got that win on the road at Jacksonville. They looked. We all picked the Jags to handle the Dolphins at home, Minshew to have a good game, and
That let me down.
well, obviously the news
Nice.
came out. Obviously DJ Chark went out, but other than that, like the Dolphins just were so efficient. They were just controlled the whole game. They controlled the game. It just was a great.
it really frustrated Minshew.
It was, and it was just a classic, another Fitzmagic performance. The guy is incredible. Like every team, like there's almost like every team he's played for, he has signature moments that every fan base can kind of like think fondly of him. He's becoming like a league favorite quarterback because he just.
Yeah.
I know he
We're
has his
starting to
moments.
see, like,
It's
we're
not the
starting to see
big,
who the
it's not just the
Dolphins
big.
really are because they had the Pats and the Bills the first 2 games. So
Yeah,
like against now, albeit it was a short week for the Jags, but it was the same thing for the Dolphins as well. So they looked really like, as a whole team. You can see progression there.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
and that's what you want to see. You just want to see a progression in your team. Like they're starting to make better choices. The coaching is getting better.
I think the coaching has been great, even from last year. I think that
Yeah.
the coaching outmatches the talent on the team even now. Like, I think that he gets more, that coaching staff gets more out of those players than the quality as a whole. And I think as the individual pieces, sorry. And with Changeli being the OC and him working with Ryan Fitzpatrick again, they had obviously time at Buffalo. They had that season in that crazy season in 2015 with the Jets where Brandon Marshall and Decker went crazy. So, and so there is a path where Fitzpatrick matched with this offensive coordinator can put up points and be competitive in a lot of games and be a lot of fun. And that's what it just reminded me when I watched this game. I was just like, oh wow, this looks like just one of those games where it's just he's in the zone. And it's quite funny when you look at Minshew and Fitzpatrick. They're quite. I see Minshew as like a potential future of Fitzpatrick in terms of a guy who kind of goes through streaks of being really good and maybe not so good. And when he's good, he can be really, really effective and have a really great games. But I thought it was just a really impressive game.
The Jags' problem was they just couldn't stop. They just couldn't get off. Their defense couldn't get off the field to save their lives.
No,
throughout the whole game, and that really affected Minshew because he couldn't get rolling. And that's what happened. He couldn't get rolling, and but like he will get a first down, and then he's out the next three downs. So and then the Dolphins are back on the field, and they're just driving down the field, and then it just messed up their whole rhythm.
I think losing
But that was what the Dolphins were doing though. Like they were imposing their will on that game.
So, Hemi, you were saying something?
I think losing DJ Chark was much bigger than anyone anticipated for that offense.
Absolutely.
I think so,
The guy's
yeah.
a top 15 wide receiver in the league, and you lose him when you haven't got the team around him. You haven't got someone else who can step in to kind of fill that role as easily. I think it made a big difference for them. Like I said, they're a team that doesn't have a lot of good players, so when they lose one of their good ones, they're going to struggle to beat most
Probably
teams.
the best one.
Huh?
Probably the best player.
It is probably their best player, absolutely. But yeah, the Dolphins will be interesting to see where they go from now. Now that we open up the schedule and see these games going forward, and if they can actually, be a decent team this year. We'll switch to our disappointments of the week now. So, Henry, what's your disappointment of the week?
Oh, the Eagles, man. The Eagles.
The Eagles
they're
are
not
interesting.
flying. They're not gonna fly.
No.
They're. I mean, okay.
They got a couple broken wings, ain't they? The Eagles?
Yeah. Well, their offenses just suck. They just suck. Wentz have been poor. He's been poor
He's been
decision
really bad.
making.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been-
Passes are he's missing wide open receivers, and I don't know. It feels like his mechanics has gone wonky or some sort. It's
I
not.
mean, his O line's battered though. Like so,
Yes.
he's been under pressure a lot.
But
Yeah,
if you see the Eagles defense were good. They sacked Burrow 8 times. Okay, come on, what more can you ask for of your defense to make plays? And then, but the worst thing was in that game, that disappointment was you got a chance to win the game with in overtime. You got it was 59 yards. Okay, it's a long shot. They go and take a freaking penalty. Yeah.
It was a false start.
False start, which
kick,
made it 64 yards. Okay.
Yeah.
What does a tie give you? Your chances are you either take a Hail Mary or just kick it. What is a tie? A tie does you no good. I guess it's basically the same as a 0-3 start.
They were worried if you go for a kick, it probably burns about 4 seconds off the clock, and then you're left with 15 seconds.
Doesn't matter.
The
chances are low.
Bengals. I know the chances are low. I guess they were just.
You want to go for the window. You want as a fan. Why would you just punt it?
You would rather lose trying to go for the win than settle for a draw when in that situation. Yeah, I mean I would as well.
If Wentz keeps playing like this, how long do you think the Eagles will
go Justin Hurts?
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts.
How long do you think they'll? How much patience do they have with Wentz until they really think about putting in Jalen Hurts?
They've already said they're not going down that route.
No, I don't think you pull him. I think he'll improve, but I don't think you're going to pull him unless it gets really toxic. I don't think you pull him because you can't go back. I don't think you can really go back. It's kind of one of the situations where you've got to kind of ride it. If he's going for a bad season or a bad part of the season, you've got to ride it because overall we've seen Wentz what he can be, and to not give him a bit of the benefit of a doubt of maybe he's not having a great season, no doubt, but he's earned. I think he's earned enough slack that he deserves to not be just pulled.
I mean, one thing that is going for them, I know that a lot of things ain't going for them, but there is one thing that's going for them, and that's that their division. Everyone's playing like trash.
No one wants to win that division, man.
It's a really poor one.
They can probably get like 7 games and win the division.
I mean, to be honest, the Eagles have now lost. They've lost 2 games. They've drawn 1. I still think they can. Again, we're talking about the 7th. I think they can still make it. It's just interesting. These teams are.
It's not even a 17. They're not going to make the 7.
They're still winning.
They'll win the divivision. They'll win the division by 7 games.
I don't know.
7 plays.
Once they can potentially still win it. That's how.
I still think the Cowboys. I still think the
Cowboys should win it. 95%. Of my brain is saying they should win it. But
remember, the Cowboys.
The Cowboys are the Cowboys, and they can always capitulate at any moment, at any time, in any game.
But the thing is, with the Cowboys, they've had some pretty difficult games. And I think they haven't faced. Have they faced the Eagles?
They haven't played any.
He hasn't played any of them, has he?
East teams yet.
Okay, so I see the Cowboys can win all 6 of those games.
Yeah, of course, and
then that's it, really, isn't it?
Or can lose all 6. You don't know.
I don't know. I know you're more doubtful on the Cowboys, but I don't know. I just see the Cowboys are clearly better. They're just too. They put up too many points. I know the defense isn't great, but I don't think it's. I think against kind of lesser teams who aren't moving the ball, that when you look at like the 4 kind of parts of the teams on offense and defense of both teams, I think the Cowboys' offense is by far the best unit in the whole NFC East. And I think it would outmatch anybody in any of those games because I just think the defense would be able to do enough against the Giants, against the football team, and against the Eagles as they're currently playing. I mean, I guess when you get some more health back for the Eagles, maybe they could improve. But
I don't think you can ever win. I don't think you can move away from Wentz right now because of that contract.
No,
you just can't.
No, and what he's earned the benefit of a bit more time before you start putting other people, because you never know what Jalen Hurts is not ready, and then you're like, okay, we've got to switch back to Wentz, and then it's a disaster, and then that's just it's mismanagement of the players. So I think you just got to ride it out, try to get him back on script, think of some game plans to kind of keep things simple. Maybe if it's just a mediocre game where it's not a disaster, just get a bit of confidence. Maybe he doesn't go crazy, doesn't do anything bad either, and then you kind of build off that, But I think the Eagles will improve, but it's not been a great start at all. And that decision was I think it was a very scared decision to not go 0-3.
I think that'll
mean,
cost him.
Clean
think
game for
honestly
Joe
it'll cost
Burrow
Clean game.
again.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
gets sacked 8 times.
Oh, you're saying from a kind of
Of a
inception point of
passing.
view, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Burrow again. He's just a guy who has just. He looks like the guy. As long as he doesn't get killed.
impressing everyone, ain't he?
I mean, they got to keep him clean, right? Like it's as good as he's playing. If he gets
He's
injured,
getting
that's
sacked a
gonna
lot.
that's gonna
He's
that's
getting
gonna.
sacked a lot.
If he gets injured, that's gonna put the end of any hope of like progression to the second year. So they better do a better job of
Yeah.
trying to protect him with the players they have. You know, whether it means
He
holding.
got sacked 8 times on Sunday.
They need to protect him.
Yeah.
Like I said, you've seen the biggest obviously example is
But
Luck.
the good thing is the good thing about Joe Burrow is, for the amount of times he got sacked on Sunday, he still played well.
Yeah.
Like
They
he didn't
need a-
let that affect him.
But that was that massive hit from Malik Jackson. It just was. It was a terrible hit, and those ones can be a concussion. Those can be a broken collarbone or any. You never. They've got to do a better job of protecting the kid. You
They've
can't.
got to protect him, and they need a running back. Joe Mixon's they've been bigging up Joe Mixon for how many
Well, they gave him a
years
new contract
now.
and everything, right?
He's done nothing. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not been a good start. But
No,
he
they
had-
need to start blocking properly though, and in the O line. That's their problem. They
Yeah.
can't pass protect. They can't run block.
I mean, that does destroy everything. I mean, I saw it with,
Yeah.
with Le'Veon Bell last year with the Jets. Like, the line was so bad that nothing worked. There was no protection for Sam Darnold. There's nothing for Le'Veon Bell to run through. He was just running into walls. And, there's only so much one person could do, no matter how good they are. That's probably what's happening with Mixon. But anyway, moving on to my disappointment of the week. I'm going with the Falcons again. And I went with them last week. But they disappointed again. They
Major League.
I just couldn't believe it. I switched off the game. I was watching the early games on Red Zone, watching the early games, and then obviously I switched off because the Jets started, and I thought, okay, and they had the lead, right? And then Henry, you text me saying, oh, the Bears. They
Bears
might.
are
I'm like,
back.
what do you mean the Bears? I was like, what do you mean? And then I saw, and I was like, and then later on I saw exactly how it worked out. And you're like, I can't believe it. How
Surely not, right? What hell?
the fact that Foles had, when he came in, he had that long throw to Allen Robinson that was picked off, but it could have been, it could have been
the touchdown.
It could have been
called as a
exactly.
touchdown. Yeah.
And then that wasn't given, and then they had a 4th down later on, and then with the throw to Anthony Miller, who wasn't able to catch it in the end zone, and that wasn't given. The fact that the Falcons still allowed enough chances, with those 2 chances not even counting for the comeback. The comebacks didn't start in the 3rd quarter with those chances. It started like halfway through the 4th quarter because those 2 chances didn't even happen, and they still came back and allowed them to get back. It's just Dan Quinn, like, it's just you are supposed to be a defensive coordinator. This is your unit, and Matt Ryan did what he has to do. Without Julio, he still put up a ton of points, ton of production. Todd Gurley did what he had to do, the way he can do it right now, as he is. But that it's just, you can't have that. No, like, even with the lack of players, you've got, if you're a defensive minded head coach, you've got to get them playing better. You've got to be able to close these games down and not allow this team against the Bears. We're not talking about the Chiefs or the Packers or something coming back in this game. You see what I mean? Like, we're talking about a team that are, Nick Foles had a good effort, but we're not talking about an explosive team, and they allowed them back in. It's just really, really, really
Nick
poor.
Foles had a really good 4th quarter.
I mean, he does
as soon as he came in, man. Oh my gosh.
But
That's the end of
even
Trubisky, though.
yeah, and pulling Trubisky, now they've obviously said that they're going forward with Foles, and that's like, I think they were just waiting for an opportunity. I saw the shortest leash. I mean, the guy was 2-0. Trubisky's obviously took them to a 2-0 lead. As much as you can say they were lucky here or there, they were 2-0. They were still within the game. They were obviously winning the game, even though he wasn't playing great. They were still, they were still within the game, and it wasn't great. And to pull him though, they were just looking for an excuse. They were looking for an excuse, weren't they?
They found an excuse, and it
And they
backed it up
won.
by being
And they
backed
won
up
the
by
games.
Falcons being bad.
Yeah, exactly. They found the way out of the Trubisky situation. They've just been waiting for Foles to take over, and that's it right now. So that's it for Mitchell Trubisky, for now at least. But yeah, the Falcons.
I think Mitch Trubisky, I think that's his bona fide QB1 status done for good now.
Well, as a starter, yeah. I don't think he was never bona fide.
I think he but by bona fide, I mean in Chicago's
Depth chart.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's just not. He's
And
just
to think
not.
they traded up to get.
Well, I know it's a story that's old as time at this point in terms of the story about the Bears moving up and
I feel so. Do you know what? I feel so sorry for Bears fans, man. Like remember last season when we went to watch them
yeah,
in
in the Tottenham
Tottenham,
Stadium, yeah,
Hotman, yeah.
against the Raiders, yeah.
I sat right next to like these Bears fans, and they were.
I remember it wasn't even Trubisky, was it?
They
it
were
was,
just like Trubisky wasn't in there. And
it was
this was
the-
all
it
they
was the
said
other
was
backup,
they just
wasn't it? But
throughout the whole game.
yeah.
This is they were just like, we're just so unlucky, man.
It was what's his
we-
name? Chase. What was his name?
Chase Daniels.
He ended up
Chase
getting
Daniels.
injured,
That's it. Yeah,
and he got injured, and they had to play their backup in that game as well. And the worst thing is they were still in that game for somehow.
I know, and they
Until
were,
the very end.
and the Bears fans were kind of still talking about Mitch as a guy that they needs to get behind. It's a difficult thing because when you pick a guy,
Just felt so sorry for them, man.
When you
Why
pick
would
a
you
guy,
feel sorry for them now? They're 3-0.
No, I just as in their QB situation was so bad. Like they've had a bad QB situation for so long.
Yeah, but that's them.
They had no
picking
hope.
the
They were
drafting
like,
wrong.
the guy was like, I was saying you should rally behind your team. He was like, look, yeah, he was like, look, he's gonna throw a pick anytime soon, and that's the thing about our Bears. Our QBs will throw a pick and throw the game away. It's just it's going to happen, and then it happened.
I would say you say they're 3-0, and why you feel sorry for them. I'd say you feel sorry for them because they're winning 3 games, and yet they're going into quarterback limbo, where you don't know where you're going. You're not in which direction. You think Foles is the answer. Okay, fair enough, but how long until you realise you're going to have the tank for
Foles
a
is the
young
best.
QB?
He's the best for our American viewers. He's the best Band-Aid you can get in NFL.
Yeah.
Right? One of the best Band-Aids you can get.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a few other people who you could say is a bit more consistent, but Foles is fine, and we'll see what they get with him. But I think Alex, we'll move on to your disappointment team of the week. What's your team that is the most disappointing?
My disappointment team went 0-3 this past Sunday, and
0-3, yeah.
It's a bit. I feel a bit. I feel a bit. I feel like I'm cheating with this, but my disappointment is the Houston Texans because they did have the lead. They did have the lead in this game against the Steelers. Now I know they're 0-3, but they played.
It was never.
They played probably the 3 best teams in the AFC. So, but they did play. They were play. The thing is, they did play like this game meant a lot to them. To be fair, but they just couldn't hold on to the lead at the end.
I think what you could say is for the reason why they're disappointment, even though we acknowledge they played three of the best AFC teams in the first 3 games. I think the reason why it's a disappointment is because, as a Houston fan, with someone like Deshaun Watson, with the capital they put towards someone like Laramie Tunsil, you do expect them to make the playoffs and have the wish and the dream that they could make it through to the Super Bowl, right? Like that's what you're thinking as a potential. It's legitimately think when you got Deshaun Watson, you kind of legitimately kind of think that. And this kind of, I think it's disappointing because you realise, the Hopkins trade and other assets of the trade with the defense struggling, they're just not out there with those teams, and they don't really, even if they were able to get into the playoffs, they wouldn't last long.
The thing is with the Texans offense is Deshaun Watson's is on the pressure so much. Like their O-line is not, their pass protection has been so poor. Run it like through the 3 games. I mean, Deshaun Watson got sacked 5 times, and it could have been a whole lot more.
I mean, we are talking about the one of the best pass rushing teams. So
even against the Chiefs and the Ravens, though, it was still happening.
Well, let's look at. I think the disappointment
they
for
couldn't
me
protect
with
him,
Texans,
and if you can't protect him, you have no hope in winning any game.
Well, they didn't get a point in the second half against the Steelers. Okay, they shut them out in the second half. You put up 21 in the first half. You stay. You're ahead. You're in touch. You're ahead against the Steelers. You didn't put up a single point. And then you get David Johnson goes in and rush 23 yards of 13 attempts. Okay, that's like
but that's,
you might as well quarterback sneak every time, then, isn't it?
O-line play though.
You might as well quarterback sneak it with that kind of rush attempts. It's just the O-line they paid Tunsil for what the highest paid.
Yeah, and obviously the amount
left
of
tackle.
capital they gave up with all the draft picks. Yeah, it's
he's not worth that money.
This is Bill O'Brien as the GM, and Texans fans from the Texans fans that I'm connected to and I see, they just want him out as much as the Jets want Gase out,
I think
or
his
the
time's
Falcons
done.
want Quinn out. You know,
I think his time's done. It's more.
He was holding on.
You can't
because,
take them anywhere further.
No, he was holding on because they were kept on being. They were good enough to be too good to get rid of him, right? And I think the first season where they struggled, they'll have a chance to move on from him. But he does have a lot of power within that organisation, and so he probably hold on longer.
But their second half was very worrying, man.
Yeah, they were. Anyway, next week they face the Vikings, so that'll be an interesting game. 2 0-3 teams that we saw that who can. You know, who can win?
That's the real make it or break it.
There's some interesting games this week, and like I said, that's probably one of the ones you look for, because you're like, those two teams without a single win, and someone has to win those games if they have any shot of trying to get into the playoffs. You know, even with the 17
It could be
seeds.
a tie again.
Oh, another tie. Yeah, no. Yeah,
very unlikely, but it could.
no, but I think the Texans can probably beat. I think they'll be up on enough teams to be a decent team, but I just don't know how many wins against more complete teams they'll get. But anyway, we'll go into the more complete teams. Who's your teams of the week? Henry, what's your team of the week?
The Monday Night Football game.
Yes,
It'll be the Chiefs.
we shall now discuss the game.
Well, let's from
It didn't
last
end
week.
up being the game of the week. That's
no,
the worst
I'm
thing.
smiling because I predicted they'll win, because you guys went with the Ravens and I was like, all right,
Let's look at this way, right?
Yeah.
Like we've last week all been hearing is like Lamar being like the MVP. It's Lamar's year. Lamar's the fastest quarterback, and like he's like probably the best quarterback there, the full package and sort of thing. And that D is better than the Chiefs.
Yeah.
None of that came up.
No.
None of it. Chiefs were just so good. Well, apart from special team, that was the only downside of that. Of last night.
Yeah.
That.
The Chiefs just played them off the park.
Yeah.
That first half was just a clinic, like in every facet you can ever think of, coaching, down to the offense and defense, special teams.
Harrison Butker had a rough night.
But, I mean, when you
Chris Jones, man, he deserved
off
that
the bat.
paycheck.
Off the bat, they held that the Ravens drove down the field, but they didn't break. The Chiefs defense didn't break, held him to 3 points. And then as soon as Mahomes got that ball, my God, the way he marched down that field, the way I just don't get. It's ridiculous how fast he does it as well.
Yeah.
The way they just march down the field, get a touchdown.
It's so easy.
And the thing is when they got that touchdown, I was just thinking, oh my gosh, the Ravens are in trouble.
Yeah, I mean,
the game just started. The game had just started, and you just had that feeling it was just gonna. It was the Ravens were in trouble, and it was. Right after the touchdown, Lamar comes back on, and I think it was 3 and out straight away, and I was just thinking, oh, Mahomes got the ball now.
Yeah,
and I was just thinking, oh my God, this can just go sideways so fast, and it did. Literally, that next drive, he marched down the field, scored a touchdown again, and I was just like, it reminded me of their game last season, where the Chiefs just got out to a fast start, and then the Ravens just had to play catch up.
Absolutely, but that's the thing. You've got to play out of the Ravens. Obviously, love to run the ball. You've got to get them out of their comfort zone, and that's what they do.
The Chiefs did that. The Chiefs and if you stopped them from running.
If you take away that the kick return from Devin Duvernay, it's a blowout in the first half.
It was a blowout. It was a blowout. It was a first half blowout because the special team scored all 10 points.
Yeah, it shows the limitation. Like I'm a massive fan of Lamar Jackson. I think he's one of the most exciting players to watch. But I think this shows you where he stacks up with Pat in terms of being as a passer. Like, I know it's one game, but I just think that I think Lamar Jackson's one of the best quarterbacks.
In the pocket, he did
that to say that shows what I think of of Pat Mahomes. Like the guy is next level incredible in terms of something I don't think we've ever seen in terms of the how good he is as a pocket passer, as how good he is on kind of improvising, how he can run with the ball. In every respect, he's like really high stats on every aspect you could want. It's just incredible, and Lamar Jackson just couldn't keep up with it. You couldn't keep the Ravens' formula is to keep it tight and to run the ball, and kind of just kind of break down the team that way. And against the Chiefs, you just let them. If you let them loose, they're out. They're gone. That's it.
The thing about the Ravens is they do play defense. And the thing is they against the Chiefs, their defense just they didn't know what they were doing in the secondary. Like they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what route was coming from.
The play calling.
That's the play calling.
That's the play calling. It was that, and that's what I mean. Like it was just so beautifully done by the Chiefs. Like they dominated that game from start to finish.
I really do think that the Chiefs hold back on. Like we saw them struggle against the Chargers last week, and they were able to kind of overdo it and get the win anyway. But I do believe like they're probably they hold stuff back for these big games because they know they can probably do enough to beat the teams like a Chargers. No offense to the Chargers, but I think
I mean the Ravens' pass rush was like non-existent. They had to blitz to get to Mahomes.
And then when you blitz him,
if you have to do that, if you've got problems against Mahomes, if you can't get a 4-man rush to him, because that's what the Chargers were able to do. And if you can't, I think that's the main concern is if you haven't got a pass rush that can get to Mahomes, you're not winning that game.
The part of the formula to beat the Chiefs is you need a Joey Bosa type, someone who can actually win individual matches. He can beat double teams, someone like that, someone who can disrupt the play without having to send the house. Because once you send the house, Andy Reid and Mahomes working together, they just pick you apart. It's just too. They're kind of waiting for you to give them opportunities like that. And the playmakers that they've got all over the place are just incredible. I mean, Mecole Hardman comes up big again. Tyreek Hill looks super lively again. You've always got Kelsey is a consistent just. Gets the ball, gets that first down all the time. Like they're just so difficult to stop.
Guess what they've added? Guess who they added as a touchdown guy? Eric Fisher.
Oh, Eric Fisher, of course. And then when you don't, exactly. And then when you don't think you can beat, you got Eric Fisher. You know Eric Fisher. I just saw a stat. Adam Schefter put a stat I saw this morning. He's the first number 1 overall pick to catch a touchdown since Keyshawn Johnson, who came out in 96. It's just because of the people who get picked overall. You don't normally get a receiver picking number 1 overall, right? And Keyshawn Johnson was with the Jets in, I believe, 97. That was the year Peyton Manning decided not to come out of college and not play for the Jets. So we picked Keyshawn Johnson.
I guess another
instead.
stats. Eric Fisher has the same amount of touchdown right now as OBJ.
Oh, right. Stats galore. And it's nice always to dig one into OBJ from Henry's point of view.
Let's move on.
Absolutely. But that was a really good game last night. It wasn't as good as we want, but it showed how dominant one team could be. But yeah, let's move on to. So, Alex, what's your team of the week?
My team of the week's my team, the Patriots. Very interesting game going into it. We all thought it was going to be a tighter game. It felt like a tighter game than the actual scoreline felt. To be fair, but I think. After the first quarter, because the Raiders did have a great game plan against us, but then I think, like in the first quarter, we were so frustrated. I was very frustrated watching it, like how we just couldn't do anything we wanted, and their offense was marching up and down the field against us in the first quarter. But I think once we started running to the outside, the game just flipped, and that's the thing with the Patriots and their coaching staff is. During the game, if their game plan's not working, they will actively think about other ways to win the game. And once we was able to run on the outside with JJ Taylor, everything opened up. Our passing game opened up. Our running inside opened up. Cam Newton didn't even run the ball much.
No,
that game either.
No, Rex Burkhead did everything.
Oh my God, Rex Burkhead!
I think that was CMC wearing someone. He took Rex Burkhead's uniform. No joke.
Do you know? I'm not gonna lie. I've watched Rex Burkhead for 3 seasons now, and I've never seen that that kind of
it wasn't
athleticism
just a
come out from
stats
him.
thing. It wasn't just like, oh, he got 3 touchdowns, so he got the
Yeah.
stats. So he actually looked really good. But I just, you don't trust, like, in terms of if you're looking at that backfield, there's so many different members who can kind of get the ball. It does make it
Yeah.
difficult to know like who you're gonna.
Like, our game plan was definitely to stop Waller, and it worked.
Yeah. Well, that was the
isn't-
thing.
And I felt bad for the Raiders because when you saw Henry Ruggs out for the game,
Yeah.
I was like, that's what mainly scared me was Henry Ruggs, because I knew he was going to take out Waller, and I was just thinking Henry Ruggs, if he's on the field, he can do some damage.
Yeah.
But isn't that performance one of the most Patriots performance like throughout? We see like
that's the thing. That's how the Patriots do win their games.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
most Patriot
yeah.
like display. They like a team come out swinging. They'll get like the
It
Patriots
was
get nothing going.
it was very Brady-esque.
I mean, the Raiders did have a good 2-minute drill in the end of the first half.
Yeah,
that
and they
was-
had that
when
chance.
If you can go back and watch that, it was
I did, yeah, I saw it.
well executed
It
2-minute
was.
drill.
And then they had that chance. What's interesting is that kind of that one piece of the law of the kind of rules of the game that kind of stood out, that the Raiders had a timeout left over, but they kind of got that ball to Hunter Renfro, and he got the ball only to the 1 yard line, and the referee initially called it a touchdown, but then changed it. But then they would have had the 10-second runoff.
Yeah.
And hadn't they had a timeout, they would have had enough time to spike the ball. But hadn't they had the refs, but that would have been on the refs' decision. That's happened a few times before. And you go,
the
sometimes,
rules, isn't it?
sometimes you see these little rules pop up, and you go, how does that still exist? Like, it's so lucky that the Raiders obviously the Raiders, made the most of it, didn't they? And they got the touchdown. But hadn't they got that, it's the kind of thing that it's going to cost the team down the line.
It frustrates fans and teams. It shouldn't be like that.
No.
It's the refs' call.
It's the refs' call that makes the 10. Then they punish the team, and if they haven't got a timeout, then it's kind of
Well, when things happen, the Patriots do punish you like that.
Yeah.
The second half, everything.
Well, they just tightened the knot. In the second half, the defense
We
just
didn't
tightened.
just even
everything
score a
tightened
safety.
up.
Like we scored a defensive touchdown in the end zone.
Yeah, that wasn't a
In their end
safety.
zone.
It was just a
It
complete
looked like a
kind of-
safety, and then but it ended up like Derek Carr fumbled it, and
The Patriots going forward are going to be really good, and then some of their matchups going forward against some of those teams in out of division and also with the Bills are going to be really fun to watch. Now that Cam's quarterback,
very entertaining season.
Especially, I mean, for Pats, they must
Cam
be.
Newton looks
I don't know, mate. After having Brady running your robotic offense for this many years, to have Cam, it must be some
I just
sort
can't
of
believe
dream.
the NFL let us. I just can't believe the
Get out
NFL
of here.
actually
You
let
guys-
us have Cam Newton.
It's just
I can't
constant
believe it.
parades for New England. Get out of here. Go away. Anyway, I'll go with my team of the week now. And that's the Green Bay Packers. Henry, that's your team. We watched that game on Sunday night. And they just stomped on the Saints, really. Like, the Saints just couldn't keep up, and even Alvin Kamara tried to single-handedly keep him in the game. But the Aaron Rodgers,
We can't tackle. That's open.
no,
We can't
that was
tackle.
some bad tackling on that play. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers, the guy is just on fire right now. Just some of that. There was that one thing when he drifted to the left and he kind of floated that ball to Lazard.
He's on a mission. I'm telling you,
the guy,
Aaron Rodgers is on a mission this season, man.
He
We
is.
didn't take
Him
any
and
wide
Russell
receivers.
Wilson.
He is Mahomes before Mahomes in terms. He was the guy you always watched when he goes off and he has those games. You're like, this is the best thing to watch in the whole NFL.
Do you know what it is with
and I still
Mahomes
think it's
and
up there
Rodgers?
as well.
Do you know what it is with Mahomes and Rodgers? Mahomes is what Rodgers would be if he had all the
Kind of
offensive weapons he had. Because I don't think Rodgers has ever had a first round pick.
I think
like,
back in the
never had
but Geordie
we had first round
Geordie was as good as a first round pick, right?
Yeah.
The way that Geordie played for him. But I think going back, saying about the they look so, like, with Aaron Jones running the ball.
When they play, it's very similar.
You've got Aaron Jones running the ball. You've got Jamal Williams chips in. You've got just like, it's a really complete team. Like I said, that team last year that won 13 games didn't seem to be like a really dominant team. This team seems like that team that wins 13 games and is dominant, goes into the playoffs and can beat anybody. The defense is not great. I mean, Henry, you'll probably speak to more to this, but the defense is something that they're going to have to, maybe against the best opponents, they're going to have to play their best, because they weren't 100%.
They were lucky that
they're missing
We
Kenny
didn't have
Clark.
Yeah.
Right, they're missing Kenny Clark, and when hit with that pressure down the middle and the pass rush, the defense is going to basically, I think, is a top 10 defense when they play to their max ability, they can probably stop most teams. And that offense is just cooking right now with Rodgers.
Yeah, I think they were very fortunate. Breeze he flat out refused to throw the ball down the field.
Well, he doesn't. But the thing is, that's the thing with Breeze. Like when you actually look at his stats, he actually for many years now he hasn't done that a lot, and I think it's becoming more and more evident that they're not trusting him with the that the power to get the ball down the field as much, and they're kind of customizing. And this is Sean Payton doing an incredible job overall, kind of customizing.
It's always Breeze's style has always been like a boxer's, like a jab sort of thing, trying to jab you to death sort of thing.
Yeah,
and he doesn't take the shot. He doesn't take the shot downfield.
I mean,
it's very rare to do it too.
He didn't do much. He just dump it off to Kamara. And let him do it. I mean, we talk about the Saints. Yeah, they're kind of the defense is not playing well. I thought so much more of the defense.
That Taysom Hill fumble.
Well, yeah, the Taysom Hill fumble was another thing. But with the Saints defense, I thought they were going to be so much better than they have, and they had a few good, decent plays. But Janoris Jenkins is just literally creating so many issues with his penalties in these games. They're not getting anything from Marcus Davenport. The Saints fans call him, two first round. So there's a nickname they give him because they basically gave up 2 first rounds almost for him, right? And
gave that to us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
but Malcolm Jenkins played well though.
Yeah, Malcolm. There wasn't the individual performances, but as a unit, they're not like we thought they'll be able to. We thought they would be good enough that they could slow down a team like Green Bay enough where the offense could do what they do, and that was their path to winning 13 games. They're not doing that. The offense isn't explosive. Of course they're missing Michael Thomas, but still I just think they're a team that is just a little bit limited by what Breeze can do. And
very limited. I'm very concerned about the Saints actually without Michael Thomas.
Yeah. It's funny when you speak this side, when you say I'm very concerned, I always have to kind of take it with a pinch and okay, to an extent, the Saints are still a very good team.
Without Michael Thomas, it's like a completely different offense. It's how long is he out for?
I think he'll be back. I think he's not out for that long.
2-3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, so I think he'll be back next week or the week after. So they should get rolling soon, and I think they'll be fine. I think the defense just needs to play to their ability. Cameron Jordan's been quite quiet, and I think Demario Davis is one of the best inside linebackers, and he was the one who kind of got caught offside on that play where Rodgers caught him, and obviously that's Henry absolutely jumps up and down whenever Rodgers catches anyone
it's
offside.
It's a free play.
And does the free play.
He's just the king of them.
Yeah, and with the empty stadiums now, when you look at what the Saints didn't have,
it's like a love and hate relationship Henry has with this because
no, it's a lot better now. No, under Mike McCarthy, it was going down right to the wire, and we call timeout for no reason.
Oh right, yeah.
We have not had that. Well, I think we had it once. Like he's trying to hard count, and then he'll take a timeout.
But he was about to timeout, right? He was about to call timeout.
It looks like it's about a timeout.
And then Demario Davis jumps offside, so they got the Saints on that one. But no, it was the Green Bay Packers dispatching a team like the Saints. No matter what the Saints' issues are, the Saints are still a very good team.
Still a good win for the Packers.
And the Packers beating the team, they go on to play other, the rest of the schedule, which is I just see the Packers as a team.
We've got Falcons next.
Falcons.
What got me more?
So you're going to go down until the last quarter.
No, what got me excited this game was our tight end getting a lot more involved. We got Robert Tonyan, Steinberger. Mercedes Lewis got a touchdown as well.
Yeah.
We didn't have Devontae Adams, and we still.
Yeah,
it looked like we still put 37 points.
We talk about Michael Thomas, but you guys didn't have Devontae Adams either. So it was a really and Lazard stepped up and had a massive game, and it shows that he can be your second two. You guys got who's the guy you got in free agency who then opted out? Devin Funches. I mean, I don't know what his place is in the league. I think Lazard can be your guy there, and we'll see what they do with Funches next year. But
he'll be gone.
I
don't think he'll be back next year.
No, but this year I think the Packers are one of my favourites to go ahead, and just the way that Rodgers is playing. He's playing I told you so, kind of like playing the type of ball that he's going to stick it to the front office for even thinking about going with Jordan Love. But
It's consistency, and also he's that chip on the shoulders.
Yeah, so it's double whammy, and look out for the rest of the league. But I think that'll wrap it up for 3 and Out, and we're going to move to our new segment, Take It Into Overtime. Okay, so this is our new segment, Taking It to Overtime, where we take one subject each that we just want to talk about to cover the weekend of action that we just saw. I'll kick it off with my one. My observation is Kyle Shanahan just coaching incredibly, doing, with all the injuries that have happened to the 49ers, to be out on the East Coast for consecutive games in New York against the Jets and then the Giants, to pull out 2 wins, 2 dominant wins. With the team, the teams they have with Nick, Nick Mullins putting 343 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He called a great play, great game for his young quarterback, and with his depleted team, they were outplayed and outthought all the 2 opponents that they faced the last 2 weeks, and I just think it shows how important the difference this season with all the injuries happening. The coaching is really important in terms of it can be the thing that separates the team that's going to win the games and pile up the victories, and the teams that are going to struggle to make the playoffs.
Or is it how bad the 2 New York teams are?
That could also be the case. Well, I guess we'll know that going forward, but
No, they're both terrible, man.
yeah, they are both terrible, but look at the 49ers, who they're missing, right? Nick Bosa, they're missing Solomon Thomas, they're missing Richard Sherman, they're missing and then on the offense, obviously they've got no Deebo Samuel to kick off the season. They're missing Jimmy G. They're missing George Kittle. They're like,
Brandon
no
Ayuk
Mostert, no Raheem Mostert.
Yeah,
Like
they had Brandon Ayuk, their first round pick.
So they are getting
game,
some players
so,
through,
yeah.
but I mean, everybody
And
has.
he looked like he was in sync with what's his name?
Mullins, yeah.
Mullins.
I mean, that could come from being like the kind of second team during training camp, right? Like Ayuk was with Mullins, but I just think that he kind of it's just great play calling. We talked about Monday night's play calling. I think it was another one where he's putting his quarterback, who's he's a good young quarterback, but he's not obviously some amazing player, but he's putting him in great positions to have success, and I was really impressed with that. Alex, what's your? Go on, Henry.
I'll finish off that with that. I think what were we saying earlier? Well, not earlier, but before that, me and you were talking that Jets and Giants have been matching each other's score each week, right?
Oh yeah, the Giants have outscored the Jets by I think
first
points,
week
right?
Jets got 17 and then Giants got like 16.
17 again, right? Or
They got 16 the first week. You guys got 17.
Right.
Second week you got 13, and then
13 again, and then we got 7, and they got 9. It's crazy, and I saw a stat that the Packers put up 37 points in the last game against the Saints.
One game, yeah.
And the Jets have put up 37 points in the 3 games combined. So it's just the New York teams are playing a different sport to, for example, what we saw with KC last night. It just, when I watched the NFL after watching Jets games, it looks just something. It's some different thing. It's so much more fun.
I don't even know why you watch the Jets games. Like, I'm being serious now. Yeah,
well, are we going to talk about the Jets now? I mean, we could. They were.
I don't know why.
But they didn't even play the 49ers.
You're just watching yourself getting a beat down and watching like horrible football.
Every week, Andres will complain. Oh, look, that's a quarterback play. That's a quarterback that I would like to see.
No,
that's another quarterback play I like to see.
I actually don't moan about the quarterback because I don't have an issue with the potential of the quarterback. I have an issue with the play calling.
What he'll do is Sam Darnold will somehow scramble out the pocket and then throw it down the field, and then he'll be like, "Look at that throw! He's amazing! Look at that! That was amazing!"
Look, he's gonna be as good as like Lamar.
And then he's dead quiet when Sam Darnold throws a pick six.
I'm not dead quiet, man. I'm watching it. I'm just, it's basically the guy's set up to fail. So, again, we could have been talking about the Colts. They had a good game, but again, we're not talking about that game because the Colts should have won that game. They won the game. I'm talking about the 49ers. Again, they had a great performance against a weak team. The Giants, obviously, without Saquon,
their scout team was able to beat the both New York teams.
Yeah, exactly. And Saquon being out is a big loss, but still, the Giants look like a bit of a mess as well. So Anyway, we'll move on from the New York mess, those two teams, and we'll move. So, Alex, what's your observation from the week?
My overtime take is that the Detroit Lions have actually snapped the longest active losing streak in the NFL. So I think they lost 11 games on the bounce, and they were finally able to snap that with a win, a 26-23 win against the Arizona Cardinals, who, may I add, are a very good team this season.
Yeah, I think it was a really good win for the Lions. And Stafford, he did what he had to do. It wasn't spectacular, but I think Golladay's not yet back full. He obviously was playing, but he wasn't back fully, and they had to do what they had to do. And I think overall they kind of kept Kyler Murray contained.
They frustrated Murray enough.
Yeah, it was back to it was encouraging for them to kind of improve after the losses they've had, to come back and win, and to show that they're not, say, Falcons level, incompetent or Jets level rubbish.
Did you guys see Murray's little juke on the
Oh yeah, that was incredible. Yeah. So I mean, to be honest, the Cardinals deserve to win just for that one move. Like just send the Lions home. Maybe they get the loss after that. That was incredible. Yeah, Murray's an exciting player, but I think the Cardinals are going to be fine. They're going to have these games. They're still an improving team.
Yeah.
So they're going to get
a young team.
Yeah, they're going to get games where they lose games where you would expect that better teams would just put away teams like Lions. But
it wasn't a blowout or anything. It was competitive.
It was a tough game.
It was a field goal that won it at the end, wasn't it?
But it was but the thing is, it was a very good drive at the end by the Lions.
Yeah. And
they ran out the clock with that drive.
I think they're going to be okay. They're going to be one of those kind of middling teams who can kind of beat some of the lesser teams and probably just get beaten quite handily by the better teams. And yeah, I don't know where they go with. I think Patricia. I think it is the last season for Patricia, because I just don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a disaster, but I just think it's going to be uninspiring, and they'll want to move on to try and maximise the last 5 years of Stafford, last, what was he now, 33, something like that, 34. So yeah, the last 5 or 6 years of Stafford's career. But what's your take? What's your overtime take, Henry?
Will be Russell Wilson. I mean, he's got the new the latest stats in first player in NFL history with at least 4 touchdown passes in each of his first 3 games in that season.
Yeah, he's just as they say, they let him cook, and he's.
Do you know what?
He's cooking with gasoline at this point.
So here's a take, yeah. Do you think Seahawks have actually let Russell Wilson down?
Let him down
let him down by not letting him cook like this. Only this year
I don't
that
think
he
the
has.
Seahawks have ever had the talent.
No,
I think DK
wide receiver. I think DK Metcalf coming in with Lockett. It allowed them to have confidence that he can do it.
There for ages.
DK's only had his second season, right? So he was a rookie last year, and now with him second season, they go, okay, we know what we have with DK. He's had a year. They've got to know, and they know what they have, and they can come up with a plan where they go, we're going to be more offensive. We can trust. We've got 2 top receivers now. We've still got a good running game. I think they basically said now they have confidence that the talent can match. And they can allow Russ to do it because he's got the talent to do it. He always had games where he would come out and win, but now they've got a consistent, dual threat on either side of the wide receiver core that can kind of damage you. And I mean that combination of Lockett and how he plays and DK Metcalf is a perfect combination of the two of them. They complement each other so well, and Russ is just in sync with both. I mean. That last throw, the winning throw to DK Metcalf was ridiculous. I mean, even the one
explosive.
Even the one that got to DK and he kind of slowed down at the end zone line and got knocked out the back of the end zone by the Cowboys DB. That was an interesting one, but he'll learn from that. But overall, it's just.
I think he's just good. I think he will get. For me, I think DK Metcalf could get to the Megatron, Calvin Johnson level.
Yes, massive praise. But he's got definitely the potential to do, and he's got the quarterback. He's got the quarterback to do it, right? He's got the quarterback to supply him to get that. And I think next year, as he develops, he's going to develop into being like one of the clear best.
The thing is DK Metcalf is the thing that's separating him and Megatron is I think he's just not as dominant yet. Like if you just hang it in the air, DK in theory has the physique to just go up and get it, but we haven't seen that from him yet.
He's
Well,
one
we
of
have
those
seen
guys.
glimpses of it.
It's one of those guys who he's just not.
Like
he
in, no,
doesn't-
like if they're in the red zone, because so far we've just seen DK Metcalf just run and catch it down the field. But I think now what we need from DK Metcalf is him to just go up and get it in the red zone.
There's been a few times that he's done that.
Like
But it's obviously
over
it's not
a second over a cornerback, just go up and get it like Megatron did.
I think that's going to come with time where he's going to get more comfortable.
He's got the physique and all the attributes to do it. We just need him to.
That's also a
apply it
technique
now,
thing, right? Is like knowing when to jump at the right time and when into. There's certain techniques to be in that. With
Because I
attributes.
think that's the only thing that's separating him from Megatron.
But it's very promising for the Seahawks. And again, I think they're another team. The defense is laying up so many yards as well, and I think they're so good.
They're banged
but
up, though, aren't they? I told you they were
they're really banged up, and
that's why I chose
Jamal
Cowboys
Adams
were
went out
winning.
as well. And so they're just laying a lot of yards down. I just think that against the top teams, they're going to maybe struggle to beat them. Even as good as Russ is going to be, the defense is going to let them down. But with Russ how he's playing right now, they can beat anyone on any given day. So they're definitely a team to look out for in the NFC. But with that, I think we're going to move on to our. We'll look forward to the Week 4 preview. Okay, before we get to the Week 4 preview, we're going to look at our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel that is the visual version of our audio podcast. We also are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Don't Fumble Pod. And part of our Instagram content is we have our weekly predictions that come out just before the Thursday night game. And we kind of look back on the previous week's predictions and see how we did. This week, me and Henry tied at 11 out of 16 with the notable one. I saved the day with that Kansas City hero pick against you two, and got that kind of tie with Henry. With other ones, I went with the Panthers, but also went with the Falcons to win. So that was unfortunate. If the Falcons held out, I could have actually won the week. Alex, you came in last with 7. You kind of went with quite a few hero picks, like the Giants, the football team, and also the. What else did you go for? You went with, you joined me on some things like the Cowboys as well. So it kind of didn't work out as well.
Yeah,
but
there's a few close games as well in my predictions.
There was a lot of close games, and there was a lot of close games going into the last quarters, and it could have gone either way. But that's how it worked out. Okay, for our Week 4 preview, we're going to just look at some of the games that we're looking forward to. And it looks like there's probably not as lively as last weekend, but you never know what can happen in any weekend. It could get quite lively. But Henry, what game are you looking out for in Week 4?
I want to look forward to the Titans and Steelers. Both teams are 3-0. We're going to see, well, one of them will probably lose unless we get another tie. It would be interesting to see how Tannehill and that offense comes up against, probably, in my opinion, probably the best defense in the league right now.
I'm interested to see if they can run it with Derrick Henry against that front seven of the
very
Steelers.
Interesting game. Yeah, to see that there's that combination, that offense versus that defense, and I think it'll be interesting because they're going to have to. Tennessee are going to have a hard chance because they're going to have to be quite successful, because I think that the Steelers are going to do a pretty good job against their D. They run the ball. I don't think Connor's running really that well. He's looking good, but I don't think he's looking as dynamic as he was a few years ago. But he is still very effective. The run game's effective, and Big Ben's looking great with he's got a lot of options out there. So
Titans defense can be got at as well. So
that's the case. Yeah.
So
Then
very interesting, because it could turn south on the Tennessee Titans very fast this game, I think.
well, yeah, they're going to try and manage it with if that run game doesn't open up with Henry,
They're in big trouble.
That's going to be big trouble for them.
That's what I mean.
It should be a really fascinating game to see, and I would predict the Steelers will probably be too much for them. But you never know if the Titans D can stop them a bit, then they have a shot of winning that. Alex, what's your I think I know where this is coming, but I know what's your game of the week?
It's the Chiefs and the Patriots game. I mean,
I would call it a homer pick, but I mean it is the game that I think as
Yeah.
football fans we're all looking at that game, the Chiefs, where
I'm-
they
I'm-
go against another big team.
I'm legit scared for this game. You know, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
this is the good test of where the
Chiefs'
Patriots are now.
offense
Yeah,
is scaring. It's so scary, man. Like,
yeah,
Just
If
like
they're up
how
by
ju-
14, try
it-
catch
it
up.
could, because just like
that's
with
where
with
that's
the
where I see the
Chiefs, like
problem.
against how they dispatch the Ravens, it can easily turn like into that kind of game if Cam can't be super Cam, we're doomed really, because
I just don't see. This is the kind of game where I don't see the Patriots being able to do it, because I think they're limited by the weapons that Cam has. I mean, as good as job as they've done, they've coached really well. They've got a lot out of the players that they have. I just think when you face a team like the Chiefs, I think this is where it's going to be maybe just one step too much to keep up with them. And again, I never count the Patriots out with Bill Belichick on the sidelines, but this is the kind of game that when you look at it statistically, the type of team that the Chiefs are, this is the type of team that probably is hard to kind of to keep up with, with the way
the problem
the
I've
Patriots play.
got right now when I'm looking at the game is just how do we stop Tyreek Hill? Because we can stop Kelsey, but to stop Kelsey, we'll have to. I just don't know how we can deal with
Pick
the
your
speed of
poison.
Tyreek Hill on our
And then if
secondary.
you do anything with Tyreek, then you've got people like Mecole Hardman who can always destroy you
Yeah.
on a certain play as well. I mean, he's got the ability, just like Tyreek, to beat you on one play. It's just,
And I'm not sure if our pass rush can hit home on Mahomes as well.
yeah.
I mean, we do have some pass rushes that are developing, like Chase Winovich. He had a
Yeah.
great game against the Raiders, by the way.
But it's not. It's a guy who's developing well, but is not like a guy who's going to really like be a danger to.
I don't know.
At this point.
He's getting there. That's the thing. He is getting there. He's still young, but he's actually getting there. He's making big plays for us.
I really like Chase
it will be a
Winovich,
it'll
but
be a
he's all
good
motor
battle.
really. He's
It'll be
almost
good.
he is motor, and I don't know if
Yeah.
the natural ability is there to face someone like Mahomes. I just think that against someone like Derek Carr probably comes off better, with the amount of effort that Winovich puts in. But
Well, the
it's
turnover battle is important. If you
Yeah.
can actually get the turnover,
on the,
that's going to
Yeah.
be key.
Yeah.
I mean, you got three
yeah.
against the Raiders this week.
Yeah.
If you can get that, if you can get any sort of turnover, that's
It-
going to be
I-
so important.
I think it's keeping Mahomes on the sideline. Isn't it? It's one of those ones.
Our
Again.
run game is going to be very key to this game.
Yeah,
man.
and you've got the
And-
options to do it, and with Cam being
Yeah.
able to get the yards that he's going to be, I think this is the game where you really do kind of run
And we
Cam.
can't. The thing is with the Patriots is we like to figure out what the other team's doing in the first quarter. We always start slow in the first quarter, but the thing is that doesn't work against the Chiefs. You can't start slow against the Chiefs because
You're gone. They'll be
and
too far
that's
ahead.
what I'm worried about. We have to be able to run the ball effectively, and I think JJ Taylor will have to have a big game. I think because he's our guy to run on the outside, and he's going to be very important to make sure that they
these
keep
random
their
Patriots
defense-
guys who kill other teams. Like,
Yeah.
who's this random dude? He's like, I had no idea who he was, and yet he's like doing incredible things
Because you know what it is, we don't know if James White's back yet because obviously he's got his own
with
he's
the
got
personal with
personal-
his parents. Yeah. I think it's gonna be an interesting game. Again, it's almost like the Steelers and the thing and the Titans. I just think that there's gonna be one team that's just a bit too explosive for the other. But again, if you can hold on, there's a chance that you guys
There's
can.
Sammy Watkins you got to worry about, Mecole Hardman.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
God.
going to be
And then
interesting. It'll be
Clyde
interesting.
Edwards-
Andres, what's your game of the week?
My game of the week is the Browns going to Dallas. I'm interested in that one. There's a lot of decent games, but that one is what I'm interested in terms of the Browns have had. Obviously, they started off losing badly to the Ravens, but the Ravens are one of the better teams. But they've bounced back with 2 wins. Albeit against maybe lesser opponents, but they've still got those wins and they've looked pretty good. They now go against Dallas, who are say a fancied team when you look at the players they have, but they haven't really put it together. And I think it's going to be a really balanced game. I think that you've got the running game, the two-headed running game from the Browns. You've got the wide receivers for the Cowboys. I just think that there's lots of dynamic. I think the line for, it's funny we talk about the lines. We always think about the Cowboys line. It's not obviously there anymore in terms of what it was in the Cleveland Browns going into this past week was actually the number one ranked offensive line. And they've just put so many resources into it. And I just think Baker has a lot of, and this is the game for Baker to really show what he can do, because I think the run game could get away from them with the Browns defense, not being great. I know Myles Garrett is playing great, but overall they've got some weaknesses, and I think obviously against the Cowboys offense they could struggle. So Baker's going to have to, he's not going to be able to rely on Chubb and Hunt as much. So I think it's going to be interesting. He's going to have to rely, he's going to have to establish a link with OBJ again, with Landry and with his tight ends, and it's going to be more on his shoulders. So it's going to be an interesting test for Baker and the Browns to see how they can do against an interesting and probably a desperate team in the Cowboys to kind of get right and kind of put dominance to the NFC East and put where they feel they should be kind of in that first place and dominating in that division. So it's an interesting game for sure.
It's not a division that's really.
No, but they don't want to get mixed up. They want to show like, okay, this division is terrible, like the Patriots have in previous years, right? The division's terrible, but we're still going to be a good team regardless of that, right? And we're just going to handle our business. And I think this is the team that if the Cowboys want to be good, they have to put away the Browns. So it's a game that sticks out to me. But yeah, for that, I think we're going to wrap it up for now.
You're not looking forward to your pump fest with Jets and Broncos, yeah?
No, I could have made a joke about, but
I don't even want to watch that game.
The Thursday night game is rough.
No.
I mean, only Jets.
Watch your highlights.
Only Jets and Broncos. Only Jets and Broncos fans are going to be watching that one. It's like people made jokes about the Dolphins and the Jags, but this is the true game that no one wants to watch. This is the Thursday night game that just got. It's coming in as a
Friday
complete
morning.
car
Wake
crash.
up and you go on YouTube, watch the highlights, and you're gonna see like
a clean sheet
Sam
for
Darnold
each other,
steps up to
0-0.
Oh no, he's intercepted.
Well, look. With the reports out with Gase that he has, that they're looking at they might move on with him if they lost badly to Indy. They were looking for a response there. It didn't happen. If they lose to the Broncos against this Broncos team, which is absolutely decimated, they had another person also on top of.
Yeah, but it's more likely to happen because it's a short week for you guys.
Yeah, but it's also they're traveling. We're at home. Well. They're traveling over to
I would take
New
the
York.
Broncos over you guys.
I just hope I actually, for the first time in being a Jets fan, I actually want us to lose so that Gase goes, because it's just a toxic situation. But anyway, we will see what happens with that.
We'll wrap that up now.
We'll wrap that up with that, and we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, we've got better things to look forward to in week 4. And I hope we've had fun. And Henry, Alex, thanks for joining me. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, it was a good week this week. Take care, guys.
See ya.